Hi, I am Tony Russo, and this is Brief Introduction from Kates-Boylston, a bonus episode where we talk to people about what they do and why they do what they do. This episode, we are speaking with Timothy Kolasa. He is the Director of Operations for Merendino Cemetery Care. He is going to be one of the many speakers at our Cemetery Grounds and Structures virtual event slated for February 25th. Now, these virtual events, just so you know, stay online forever. So if you're listening to this in the future, you should still consider checking it out, because what we try to talk about on this show are more permanent things that are still going to be useful in the foreseeable future. But we get into Tim's background and how he got into the business and talking about cemeteries as a vocation, something that he found his way into. It's a great conversation, and I'm glad to speak with him. And just a reminder, you can see the event or still register for the event at events.katesboylston.com. There will be a link in this show notes. And now let's talk to Timothy. So you'll be presenting at our February 25th conference, but more important, I'd like to talk about this in the bigger picture. Like, why do you do what you do? What do you do? And how did you get into it?
You know, Tony, there's always a story that I tell. So if you have a minute, I'd be glad to share it.
Yeah.
I don't use this term lightly, but I often look at what I do as more of a vocation, if you will. It's not something I talked to my high school guidance counselor about. It's not something I grew up saying, hey, I want to be in cemeteries. But when I look back, I see how every turn, every step I took led me to where I am today. So just briefly, right out of high school, I joined the Marines, first the reserves and active duty. I got to serve in Operation Desert Storm. And let me tell you, that definitely shapes how you think about responsibility, teamwork, service, which is very important in this business, I have found. I didn't know it then. You also learn you don't always get to choose the mission. But you can always choose how seriously you take it, which is also, I find, very important today. So cemeteries, I took a summer job at the early age of, I was probably in my late teens, early 20s at a cemetery. A few months later, I went full time. I was probably there 2 years and they made me the assistant foreman. And I was assistant foreman for 2 weeks and they fired the foreman. and there I was leading a crew of seasoned grave diggers, if you will, most of them at least twice my age. And, you know, that was another important lesson in leadership, because titles did not earn respect back then. You know, it was competence, consistency, fairness. It was really a learning lesson that I'm glad I was able to experience it. I then, as I said, became the foreman. I became an assistant director and then a director. And I spent 35 years in that cemetery. That's where I was. We acquired a second cemetery along the way. But early on, we always operated in a bit of a bubble, which many cemeteries did back then. That's the way we were taught. When problems came up, you figured them out yourself, sometimes the hard way. And I realized that wasn't the best way to operate. There were resources out there, but I hadn't been willing to look, and you got to go beyond your own horizon to find them. So I began attending some of the cemetery profession events, finally, on the Catholic side first, then with the ICCFA. And I've never been one for the spotlight. So I always listened more than I spoke, kind of flew under the radar. But what I was hearing was the same questions that I had for years, the same operational challenges, the same mistakes. There had to be a better way. And along that journey, I had a bit of an epiphany, and I realized that you don't just learn things over the years. You have a responsibility to share. And I think that's important in giving back. I was asked to teach at the CCC School of Leadership, which I did for many years. I became more involved in the ICCFA, recently graduating from the ICCFA University, and I actually had the privilege to do some teaching all 4 years of attending. And I'm still teaching now. I've been asked to come back this year. And, you know, the thing with teaching, and this fits because, as I said, I'm not one for the spotlight. It's not about being an expert on stage. It's about sharing what I've learned. And I think that's important. So after 35 years, I knew I was looking for something else. After attending the ICCFA University, I actually there was a class that talked about career purpose, which really resonated with me. I knew I was looking for something more, and I knew I couldn't do it in my current role at that time. And I've known Dino Marandino for years. I've always respected their culture, the ethics, how they treat their clients. And when the opportunity came up, it felt different. It fit perfectly with what I had defined in my career purpose journey. And this was someplace I knew I could share those experiences. The experiences at Marandino are not protected or siloed. It's encouraged to share them with others.
What do you mean by that?
Well, a lot of places, I don't. Maybe I shouldn't say a lot of places. There are times where people protect what they know
Oh,
because they're afraid to share. Maybe somebody else will take advantage of it. Maybe somebody else will be able to utilize it. But that's the goal of things.
right.
It's to share and help everybody. Because at the end of the day, and at the bottom of this funnel, if you will, maybe that's not the best term. There's a family that we're serving.
Right.
That's what it comes down to. So today I serve as the director of operations at Marandino Cemetery Care, and I just have a simple goal, three simple goals, really. It's to help people in this profession, maybe avoid some of the same mistakes I made learning along the way. I try to be a guide, and I try to help others serve families. I still don't gravitate towards the public eye, but presentations, webinars, and here we are, a brief podcast. It allows me the opportunity to give back, without making it about me. So that's been kind of my journey up until now. And I always take time to look back and see where I've been. A long time ago, I've stopped figuring out where I'm going.
That's excellent. You've been doing presentations, but this presentation, what do you hope people take away from it? Because this is something that people can download into the future. This isn't something that, there will be people there, but also a lot of our people like to download them at your leisure. Like you do. I do that. I sign up for webinars and then I listen to them later when I have a chance.
Sure.
So, what is you think your big long-term takeaway for this upcoming event?
We're talking about cremation, and people have talked about cremation for years now. It isn't coming. Everybody knows it's here. And I think the risk for a lot of cemeteries isn't cremation itself. It's more so waiting to respond. Many of them aren't ignoring cremation. They're just unsure where to start. And that hesitation can cost them because it's more than just adding niches.
Right.
It's about building inventory that matches their consumer, the reality of the families they serve. Many cemeteries add inventory, but they struggle. And that wasn't the space. It was maybe the strategy. So this isn't about just adding niches. This is really trying to provide an outline for the things to look at. It's not a one-size-fits-all solution. Every cemetery is different. Try to give cemeteries a roadmap that they can make decisions for their property, not copy someone else's. And, my role there in the webinar is to try to be the guide. So we'll discuss understanding the cremation consumer. Maybe not who we assume they are, but who your consumer is. Evaluating what you already have before we even talk about products. It's really about determining who that consumer is so you have the right mix. Evaluating your property. There's a lot of cemeteries that are sitting on underused or overlooked spaces. Many cemeteries are getting to end of life with the space. So this can help even the non-cremation consumer. It's about helping them look at their property with fresh eyes. Being at a cemetery for 35 years, you tend to have tunnel vision, and being able to look at it differently, I think can be very helpful. And we'll also talk about building the right inventory, not the most inventory. Phased, right-sized, that reduces risk, but more importantly, allows you to pivot if something isn't working or selling. That's key.
Yeah, it's got to be, because you're talking about land, right? These are semi or permanent decisions on land. So you want to get them right, and you want to be able to have a plan for if they're not working out to make any alterations without having to blow the whole thing up and start from scratch.
That is correct. Phasing is key. I myself put a garden in several years ago, and I said, oh, this is going to be great product. But what I decided was to only put part of the product in. And that product didn't sell well. But because of the layout and because we phased it, I could add different product that was selling very well right alongside, and the area sold out. So, a lot of places, there's obviously cost savings with scale, economies of scale. You can buy a lot of product, you save some money, but that doesn't work in the long run. So if you know what's selling and you're have a lot of experience with this, that's one thing. But for those cemeteries that are thinking about what to do, they're hesitating on how to do it, we talk about phasing with the right approaches, reduce that risk, and allow them to pivot.
And that is pretty much all I have for you. Unless you have something for me. Is there something I should have asked and didn't, or something you thought you get the opportunity to say, but did I just cut you off?
No. I think that covers what we're going to talk about. I appreciate the opportunity to share that, and I look forward to the upcoming event.
It's the interesting thing about cemeteries, actually, if you're a regular listener, you know that I just finished talking about cemeteries on the most recent In Case You Missed It episode of the podcast. Anyway, as I said at the beginning, this is going to be a great event. I hope that you can join us, and if you'd like to, once again, you can visit us at events.Kates-Boylston.com to register and attend, or if you're listening in the future, same thing, events.Kates-Boylston.com. You can listen to all of our previous webinars, as well as register for the upcoming webinars, virtual events, all-day virtual conferences, lots of cool stuff at events.Kates-Boylston.com.